All right. So for everybody who doesn't know, if you do know, I'm Simon Jackson. I am going to be hosting this conversation, not necessarily an interview, a conversation with a legend of the game, um, a legend of the sport, regarded as one of the greatest and the fastest of all times, an integral part of the much loved and sometimes feared West Indies team of the 70s and the 80s. Um, an unmistakable voice on our televisions and now on the internet. Um, and somebody who is really, really respected, I would say, across all generations, and very, very admired. I'm someone who has admired Mikey all this time. I've never met him in real life, even though we're from the same country. And it's a great honor. So, Michael Anthony Holding, thank you again for joining us. I call this Crouch End Cricket Club Zoom Sundays. We've had a few of these so far. And we've had Jimmy Adams a couple of weeks ago. So, even bigger legend. So thanks for joining us, Mikey.
No, my pleasure, man. Not a problem at all.
All right. So for everybody who on the call, I'm just going to call some numbers that you've heard many times over. All right. And then at the end of it, you tell me what you think of them, even though they're yours. 60 test matches, 249 wickets at 23.68, 102 ODIs, 142 wickets at 3.32. I'm going to include your first class wickets as well. So 222 first class games, 778 wickets at 23.43. Thoughts?
Simon, to be honest, I don't really think about those things there. When you're quoting those numbers, the only thing I know about for sure that you're quoting factually are the number of test matches and wickets. The rest, I wouldn't be able to say yes, they are correct or not. So I don't really think of numbers, but test matches, you don't really forget those.
Looking at those, for a non-great, it looks like cricket came easy. And it sounds silly, but was cricket easy for you?
I wouldn't say it was easy. I enjoyed it. And, when you enjoy something, you tend to make it look a little bit easier than it actually is. I started playing cricket as a very young man. My first official game with an umpire and all that was at about age 10. So you can tell how early I started.
Yeah.
And I always enjoyed the game. I didn't always bowl fast. So it wasn't a matter that I have been bowling fast from I was 10 until I was 37 when I retired. So the body is still okay, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as strenuous for me as a fast bowler because of the fact that I had a reasonably good rhythm and run up and I was reasonably smooth. So I enjoyed it and it was great. I gave me a lot. So you'd have to say it may have looked easy, but it wasn't necessarily easy.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm going to park cricket for a second, right?
Yep.
We're going to get back into all of those details, but I'm just going to have some quick fire questions because I'm not normally able to put a fast bowler on the back foot and it's normally the other way around. So quick feet and quick thinking for me, Mikey. Favorite hobby?
Horse racing, definitely. I love horse racing.
Favorite sporting venue?
Sporting venue, I'd have to say the Oval in London. That's where my best figures are.
Sporting hero growing up?
Muhammad Ali. But there were so many at that time, Simon. Pele, I love football, but Muhammad Ali, he comes first to mind.
Favorite piece of memorabilia in your house that you own?
None.
If
you came here, you would know that I was a former cricketer.
One person you haven't met that you'd like to meet?
Well, that person I can no longer meet. I was desperate to meet Nelson Mandela. I didn't get the opportunity, and obviously I won't.
Okay. Stew peas or curry goat?
Curry goat every time.
Up the hill or into the wind?
Whatever the captain said when Andy Roberts was around, I didn't have a choice.
Caymanas Park or Cheltenham?
Caymanas Park. I'm not a jumps man. I don't like the cold, so I would never get to Cheltenham.
All right, and I know the answer, but I have to ask it anyway. Melbourne Cricket Club or Kingston Cricket Club?
Melbourne, by a distance. I've been a member of Melbourne for 66 years.
All right, so for the people who don't know, Caymanas Park is a horse racing ground in Jamaica, the only one. And Mikey already mentioned his love for not only fast bowling and cricket, but for horse racing. So let's go back to the start, or not the start, where most people think that it started, high school. You said you played your first game at age 10. Was that when you were at high school or just before?
I was at high school at age 10, but I hadn't played for my school yet. I actually played for my community, which was in the Red Hills Road area. I lived on Dunrobbing Avenue, and my backyard was against a gully that later became Red Hills Oval. Mm-hmm. It was the Sandy Gully, as it was called then. But at that time, it wasn't paved. There was no concrete strip for the water to flow down. So it was just a big open space. I played for the community first, and then I actually played cricket for Melbourne before I played for KC, the school that I went to in Jamaica. Because being a member at Melbourne, I used to go there as a kid. I would go there when they were playing football or when they played cricket. And I would get opportunities to play for the club whenever weekends came on a Sunday, that they would go into the rural areas and play against the backside companies and things like that. So I played the informal games for Melbourne from a very young age. And then I played Minor Cup, which was the lowest of the competitions in Jamaica at the time for Melbourne. And then my school heard that I was playing for Melbourne and said, hey, you're playing for a club, come and try out for the school. I didn't play for KC, my school, until 1970, I think, 69, 70, somewhere around there. And at that time,
which form would you have been in?
Years old.
Which form would you have been in when you played your first match?
Wow, I don't even remember. I know it was not Melbourne. Melbourne was first form. It might have been second or third form when I started, getting into the sports at school itself.
Yeah.
And that would have been 13, somewhere around there, 12, 13. But then I didn't play for KC at the highest level, which was the Sunlight Cup, until 15, 16. I played Coles cricket. I actually played with George Headley's grandson, Sydney Headley. And then, of course, later on, I played for the senior team in the Senior Cup.
Okay.
In the Sunlight Cup, rather.
In the Sunlight. So Sunlight cricket was extremely strong, has always been very strong. It's been something that most high school students speak about. What was it like playing in it then? And what was it like playing for Kingston College, which is renowned worldwide for the tenacity of the players, the level of development and intelligence of the players across all sports and academia?
Well, cricket wasn't that big at KC, to be honest. When I went to KC, it was all about footballs and athletics. For the entire period of time I was at KC, we never lost the schoolboys athletics championship. We won for about 13 years straight. And of course, I wasn't there for 13 years. And football was huge. When we had a cricket match at KC, when I played Sunlight Cup at KC, by then we were playing over at Melbourne Park, which is where Melbourne Cricket Club started. And then, of course, KC bought it, and that's where the first form was then took place. When we played a game over there, if we had 100 people at the game, we had a lot. And more times than not, if we had a crowd at the game, it was because first formers who were going to classes at Melbourne would come out of their classes at the end of the school day, and come and watch us. And some of them just walked straight through the gate and went home. They didn't even bother to watch what was happening in the Sunlight Cup team. But we had a group of guys, I would think perhaps about 22, 23 guys who kept on turning up, kept on coming to practice. By the time I got to the point where I was a senior member of that team, where I was accustomed to being involved, we had a coach by the name of Jimmy Richards, who was almost like a father figure to us. And he helped us along. He wasn't technically getting involved, with telling you how to grip the bat and how to place your fingers. He was more, as I said, like a father figure, nurturing us, almost like a godfather. And he helped us a great deal because he wasn't just interested in cricket. He was interested in developing human beings, us youngsters. He taught us everything. And I think we learned a lot with Jimmy Richards. And we had some good cricketers. The first time I joined the KC team as a youngster, we had some fast bowlers that I thought I would struggle to get into the team. There was a fellow called Norman Henry, who was extremely quick. He eventually went and lived in Canada. Raymond Ford, who now lives in Michigan. All these guys left the game because at that point, at that stage up in the Caribbean and in Jamaica, there was no chance of making a career from the game. So they were good at school, they got scholarships, or they just migrated to the United States, went universities over there and left cricket behind. But we had some very good cricketers, and it was fun playing with these guys. We were fairly successful, and it was great fun.
Great. Jimmy Richards is someone who I met and knew when I grew up in Kingston Cricket Club, and it's very true. He's one of those that cares about the individual, and some of the best coaches around. That's exactly what players say. They care about them rather than only focus about the results. Melbourne Cricket Club, I know it plays a big part in your life and has. How did the individuals there help your development as a not only the cricketer, but as you said, the players as a player as well and a human being?
When I went to Melbourne, when I got to Melbourne Cricket Club, as I said, I was a kid. So it was just a matter of being amongst these people and just having fun, playing, enjoying. When they realized then that I could play the game, a lot of the senior guys at Melbourne pretty much took me under their wings. From playing Junior Cup, we had a guy, I don't even remember his correct name. His last name is Chen, Sleepy, we call him, Sleepy Chen. He took me under his wings first. Then by the time I started playing Senior Cup, there are some guys there involved, not just a captain, Mr. George Sterling and Roddy Williams after him, but some guys who were senior guys in that club. And eventually who played for Jamaica, and one of them played for the West Indies, Arthur Barrett. He was a leg spinner. And there was Bruce Wellington, a left-arm orthodox spinner. These guys took me under their wings, and these guys taught me a lot about cricket. They weren't fast bowlers, and by that time I was trying to bowl fast, but they knew the game. So they took me under their wings and they guided me a lot. As a matter of fact, it was Arthur Barrett who taught me how to bowl an in swinger. Because when you're a youngster, you just run up and do what's natural for you, and the ball comes out, and if you have a reasonably good action, it tells to go away from the right hander. And I struggled to get the ball to come back in. And it was he who taught me how to bowl in swing, a right arm leg spinner. So, we had some guys here at Melbourne who were senior guys, good guys, not just cricketers, but people who knew how to deal with youngsters and to encourage youngsters. And I got a lot of help at Melbourne.
It's really important at club cricket. You mentioned one West Indies player, Arthur Barrett. Let me name some of the players for the rest of the members on the call that have come after you, and you can help me and see if I have left out any after, and you can help me with the ones before. So let's start with a couple. Marlon Samuels, Carlton Boyd Jr., Nikita Miller, Robert Samuels, Donovan Pagan, Courtney Walsh, O'Shane Thomas, Mikey Holding. Who else before you, and who have I forgotten?
For the West Indies.
For the West Indies.
Arthur Barrett, you mentioned. Before him, there was, I think Esmond Kentish might have been a Melbourne man many years ago. Who was from Melbourne?
O'Shane Thomas?
Yeah, you mentioned O'Shane Thomas, the youngsters. I'm trying to go back, way back, because the guys that you mentioned are all current or recent members of the West Indies team. I'm trying to go back into the 50s and 60s because that's when, Esmond Kentish should have played. George Headley became a member of Melbourne in his later years. He didn't play for the West Indies when he was a Melbourne man. He's more Lucas and Kensington. I can't remember any of the older guys, to be honest. But that's
an impressive list of players to play from one club for the West Indies, and it'd be interesting to see comparable figures for other clubs, not only in the Caribbean but around the world. What was the secret of Melbourne? Why have you produced so many good players throughout the life of the club?
Well, we had a good club spirit, but before we even go there, Simon, at one point, I'm not too sure if this is still true, but at one point, Melbourne Cricket Club was the only first-class club anywhere in the world that had 2 test bowlers with over 200 wickets each, Courtney Walsh and myself. And we are going back even in the county cricket. Sheffield Shield cricket, any first class level anywhere in the world. Melbourne Cricket Club, and we were not even playing first class cricket, Melbourne Cricket Club. So, you know, we're talking about a club that produced 2 bowlers, each with over 200 test wickets and unmatched anywhere else. But that probably has changed now. There's so much cricket being played, and I'm absolutely sure that is no longer the case. But Melbourne had a great club life. A lot of people who were not even sports people used to come and congregate at Melbourne, come down there just to sit down, play dominoes, play cards, play table tennis, whatever, just because of the fact that we had such a good sports club and a good club life. And once you have that and people start gravitating towards you you're gonna get better. You know, you're getting more people to select from. You have good facilities. You have a good club life. You have people who are producing good cricket. So people will gravitate towards you. And so I think that's one of the big reasons why we produce so many great cricketers.
All right. So you mentioned the two fast bowlers there. And when you go to Melbourne, one end is Mikey holding in, other one is Courtney Walsh in. Yeah. And the pavilion is named Holdings Pavilion. How did that feel as somebody who has been at the club for so long to have your name, the family name, not plastered across the club, but honored?
It's great. You know, the entire family has been associated with Melbourne. My father, many, many years ago, was a past president. My mother used to go to almost every match that Melbourne played. My 2 sisters, my brother played cricket for Melbourne at the early days when he played minor cup. So the entire family has been associated with Melbourne. And the pavilion was actually renovated and fixed up by my dad, because my dad was a builder and contractor. So I think with the entire family being associated, and of course my dad being involved also as the president, they decided they would honor the family by naming the pavilion after the name. And people have been down there and seen the name Holdings with the apostrophe outside of the S. And they think, oh, that's bad spelling. Apostrophe should come between the G and the S. And I have to tell them, no, it's the family, Holdings, and then the apostrophe.
The first time I saw it, I did wonder.
Yeah, people wonder that, because they only think of me.
So how often were you there? As a youngster coming up, and then when you broke into the senior ranks, how often was there a change? From you traveling?
I didn't even know. If I go to Melbourne, if I go to Jamaica rather, I go to Melbourne Cricket Club in the afternoons and up by my sister who I stay with at night to sleep. And in the afternoon, the next afternoon, I'm back at Melbourne. It's part of me. You know, I go to Melbourne, that's my club.
Jamaica is where you're from. Jamaica is the first class team that you had to represent. It's no change with the franchise system. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
let's not go down that road, Simon. I don't want any bad memories.
We're not going into the controversial bit yet. When did you realize, or when were you confident that you belonged at the first class level?
I didn't realize that I was going to become a professional cricketer. I didn't think I was going to play cricket for Jamaica, anything like that, Simon. I played cricket because I loved it. I just said, I played for my community. I played for my club before I even played for KC, my school, because cricket was there to be played, and I played it. Yes. I eventually got through all the various levels and all that, and even when I played for Jamaica, my first game, I was not an immediate success. So it was not a matter of me going and playing for Jamaica and thinking, yes, this is it. My first game for Jamaica, I don't even remember how many weeks I took, but I was certainly nowhere near fit enough to be a first-class cricketer. I was still at school. I was 19 years old. And I played my first game, and of course, playing Sunlight and being successful at Sunlight and bowling fast as far as schoolboys are concerned. There was this big talk about young Michael Holding going to play for Jamaica at age 19. And I totally blew it, because I thought to myself, people are expecting me to bowl fast. Everybody's talking about how quick this youngster is. And I ran in and just trying to bowl fast. And I totally blew it. After 5 overs, I was out on my feet. I didn't even want to bowl another over. I couldn't manage it. So it wasn't a matter that I went into a game thinking, yes, I belong here, I'm going to do well. I just played the game, and it just happened that I kept on getting through the different stages of cricket, playing for Jamaica, eventually played Presidential Level for the West Indies, eventually played for the West Indies. But I never set a target. And if anyone knows about my history of cricket and playing for the West Indies, they will know that I actually gave up the game. I went to Australia 75, 76. I went to England in 76. And I went to University of the West Indies in September 76. I was out of the game. The reason I went back into cricket is because of World Series cricket and Kerry Packer. Because I didn't think of myself as a professional cricketer. There was no money in the game. And my mother, being an ex-teacher and school and headmistress, she didn't think of me as a sporting personality. She just thought of me, go to school, go to university, get a degree, and go and work.
And those days you couldn't do both at the same time, I assume.
No, definitely not. You couldn't do both at the same time those days. You couldn't dedicate the amount of time to schoolwork and also cricket. But even if you look at what happened to Derek Murray before me, Derek Murray started off playing for the West Indies at a very tender age. He had to stop because perhaps his parents told him the same thing: go and get an education, go and get a qualification. He went to university. But fortunately for him, he went at such a tender age. When he finished university, he was still able to go back and play for the West Indies.
So cricket wasn't your plan? Cricket,
No, definitely
cricket was something you were good at and you loved. And a lot of your, I suppose, your support system was around the game, so that helped. You spoke about World Series cricket. Before you get to that, because I've heard you speak about World Series cricket, improving the players because you were playing against the best. At the time, first class cricket in the Caribbean was the Shell Shield, am I correct? Was that the Shell Shield?
Yes,
What was the strength of the competition then?
Very strong, extremely strong. Everybody played in for their respective islands. There was nothing going on when we had our domestic tournament in the Caribbean because the itinerary wasn't as packed then as it is now. You didn't have all these domestic tournaments all over the world that people go and play in as they do now either. Our domestic season in the Caribbean ran from perhaps January, February through to about late March, early April. So there was nothing else happening.
So in terms of your workload, before you played for the West Indies and started to tour, you'd play 5, 6 first class games for the year? Was that the system you were in?
Yes. I think we played 2 at home and 3 away 1 year, and then the next year we'll be 3 at home, 2 away. That sort of a thing, because there were only 6 domestic teams, and you never played a home and away situation. You played each team once.
So you went back to club cricket and always played there as well, because that was well, partly you enjoyed it a lot, but there was no other cricket keeping you away.
No, there was nothing. There was nothing to keep you away from playing club cricket. And if I think of myself personally, I didn't play county cricket. I didn't play league cricket. So there was nothing apart from playing for Melbourne Cricket Club and then playing for Jamaica or the West Indies eventually. So it was not a lot of cricket being played, not a lot of stress on the body. And me, myself, being not a big, strong, powerful guy, that suited me very well.
So I know most people want to hear about the West Indies, right? And the time there. But before we jump to that, still on first class cricket, based on your record, you've played first class cricket around the world, not only on tour, but as an overseas professional. Where did you play, and how did those opportunities come about?
Well, I played in England, as most people would have realized. I played for Derbyshire. I played a few games for Lancashire in 1981. Because my first time playing cricket, apart from playing for the West Indies in England, was 1981 when I went to Rishton. Played some Lancashire League that season. Because 1980, when I was touring England, I was approached by the chairman of Rishton, Wilf Woodhouse. He came to Manchester, came up to the hotel that we were staying in, I think it was called the Grand at the time, and approached me to come to Rishton the following year. I think Jeff Thompson was there in 1980. And then he wanted me to come there in 1981. I wasn't really interested in playing league cricket, to be honest. But he seemed a nice man. Sorry?
Why is that? Why weren't you that interested?
I wasn't, again, even at that stage in assignment, I was working in Jamaica. I didn't think of myself as a professional cricketer.
Okay.
1980, when I went to England, playing for the West Indies, I had a job in Jamaica. I went back to a job in Jamaica. I was a computer programmer. So I went back to my job. 1981, when I decided, okay, I'll go and play, not county, league cricket for Richmond, I resigned my job because Mr. Michael Manley, who was the Prime Minister between 1972 and 1980, when I was a computer programmer. As a matter of fact, he was the one who was instrumental in getting me the job at the Government Computer Center. He decreed that once you're representing your country, you still get paid from your job if you're working with the government. I was obviously representing Jamaica and the West Indies when I was playing for the West Indies, so I was still getting a monthly salary from my job. That is why it made things a little bit easier for me. When I decided I was going to play 1981 for Richmond, I'm no longer representing my country, although I was told, Mikey, don't worry about it. You can go, it's only a 4 or 5 months, you can come back and your job will still be here and you still get paid. But my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that. And I said, no, this is not representing my country. I'm representing me now. I'm going to play league cricket. There's no Jamaica tag on me or West Indies tag on me. So I resigned my job at the computer center as a programmer. And I went and played because I thought, Will House, when we sat down in Manchester and had a chat, and he told me about his club, told me about the hopes for the club, because just a little small club up in the hills in Richmond. And I figured, okay, give it a shot. Seems a nice man, seems a good group of people, because he wasn't the only person who came to see me. And I said, one season, give it a shot. So that's why I went and played for Richmond in 1981. Then, of course, Clive Lloyd was at Lancashire. And because Richmond league cricket, you only play on weekends, and I never really played anything or went too much practice during the week. Lancashire allowed me to play some games for them as well, some one-day games, and I think I might have played a couple of county games, not too sure. Once they were in the week, it was fine to play those games. I might have played about 7 games for Lancashire. I don't remember because I'm not too good on my own statistics. And I played that bit of a season for Lancashire, and then I played league cricket for Richmond. I didn't actually play proper county cricket until 1985 when I went to Derbyshire, because 1983 was the World Cup. They had approached me to come and start playing from 83, but 83, most of it was the World Cup. I got injured in the finals of the World Cup, so I didn't play a lot of cricket for Derbyshire in 83. 84, West Indies toured again, so I was with the West Indies again, played absolutely no cricket for Derbyshire, and then played for them in 85 up until 85 when I retired from all cricket. That is Derbyshire in England.
So why did you stay with Derby that long? Was it just you got that family feeling with them, or
yeah?
What was the reason?
I had a good time at Derbyshire. I had a good relationship with the coach, Phil Russell. Even now, Phil Russell lives in South Africa. And every year I go to South Africa working for Super Sport. I call him up, we go and have lunch together, that sort of a thing. Plus, there were some good people at Derbyshire. You know, the captain, Kim Barnett, we had a great relationship. Kim knew how to deal with fast bowlers. Kim would never bowl you into the ground. And it suited me because I didn't play county cricket because I didn't want to play county cricket and get bowled into the ground and not be able to bowl fast for the West Indies. But by the time I started playing with Derbyshire, I was at the stage now, I was a senior man, I was getting close to retiring from Test cricket. And Kim being a good person and understanding captain in relation to fast bowlers. Plus there are a lot of guys there at Derbyshire that I had a good relationship with. Johnny Morris, who should have played a lot more cricket for England than he actually did. Animal, as we call him. Animal, I kept on telling you. Anyway, he's gone now. And we had a lot of other West Indians, or West Indian heritage. Alan Warner, you know, call him Jack Warner. Not for the Trinidad Jack Warner. But we had another guy from Denmark, Ul Mortensen, Stan we call him. We had a lot of good guys there at Derby that I have lasting relationship with. Martin John Jack, JJ as we call him. I did just on messaging service with them a few minutes ago. Lots of good guys at Derby. I had a good time. We only got to one final, won no competition while I was there. but it was a good family.